Hello, everyone. Welcome back to How to Trade. I'm Shane Vernier, and this is our ORB workshop. We're going to trade the opening range breakout strategy on U.S. equities today. We're going to use a 15-minute chart to do it. The way that we're going to handle this stream is we're going to run through the rules. We're going to tell you exactly what we're going to do, and then we're going to play some trades. Right now, we've got U.S. equities on the move, big bearish, really a big bearish open here, about down 90 points here in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, down about 20 in the S&P 500. But the NASDAQ's the big mover, off about 0.5%. Now, you'll notice I'm talking fast because I'm thinking fast. And if you're going to be trading this time of day when liquidity is at pretty much its maximum levels, you need to be able to think fast. So if you find yourself sort of struggling to think or keep up with me, that is okay. Remember, these things are always saved on YouTube or in the How to Trade trading room. You can go back and watch this stream as many times as you want. Let me see you, Fressy. Good to see you, Fressy. Let's go. Absolutely. That's exactly how I feel. Today is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go through a couple of different setups. We're looking at the US 30, E-mini S&P 500, and the US 100. And if we have time, I'm going to show you how to trade an opening range breakout in US oil, which there was an absolute banger yesterday. Not going to lie to you. It was a fantastic trade. I like to use a little bit different setup, though, and I'm going to show you my secret sauce on that. So we're going to go through 4 markets. I'm going to show you exactly how to line up the orb, and basically, we're going to get after it and see if we can't make a few bucks. So good to see everybody back. Love Tuesdays. I'm always wired on a Tuesday morning. Tuesdays are when I like to trade. Monday, not so much. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, pedal to the metal. We're going hard. We're looking to make a little bit of money. Now, there's a lot to this orb strategy. It's very easy to set up, but where we can really make the money is the nuance, understanding market state, understanding where a market may go, and that's really what it's all about. Does anybody know the future? No, but we know what we can do, and we know what we can do right now. And if we know those things, then we can kick a little tail, and that's really what trading is all about, and that's why it's a lot of fun. I mean, if you're not having fun trading, you're doing something wrong, in my opinion. So, Hamy, good to see you, Hamy. Welcome. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get on with it. This is the opening range breakout orb trading strategy. Now, this strategy is going to be found on our YouTube channel. Most of you are familiar with it. Those of you that are watching us on How to Trade Calm YouTube right now, absolutely fantastic. But this video is there. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. If you want to trade any of these concepts, be sure to swing by switchmarkets.com. They can get you up and running with strategies like the orb relatively quickly. Watch the video, open an account for as little as $50, and you got an opportunity there potentially to make a little bit of money. That's all. That's really what this is all about. Okay, now when we're trading the open, now forget the close here. This is the key times that we know that the market is going to be active. The reason why we want to trade the market opens is we want to be in there when the market's liquid and volatile. And right now we're seeing the liquidity flood into the market. We're seeing a bit of a correction, and we really do have an opportunity here potentially. This is starting to look like a trend day down early on. I'm going to show you why. But in any case, these are the big times that you really want to be aware of. Now, these are Eastern time, so if you're in the United States and you're in New York City or you're in Miami, Florida, then you know exactly what time zones these are. If you're overseas, you're going to have to translate these Eastern times to GMT. So just go to GMT or just translate it to your local time zone. I would have done it for you, but I don't know where everybody is. We've got folks from all over the world here, so it's best to just leave it in Eastern time and let you guys work from here. These are the big opens, man. Tokyo Open, London Open, New York Open. Those are the big 3. I would be watching those relatively closely. 8 p.m. Eastern is Tokyo. Always, if you're trading gold, I'll make a different video on that, but you got to watch that Tokyo Open if you're trading gold. London Open, 3 a.m., and then also the New York Open, 9:30 a.m. So it is 9:48 in the a.m. Eastern time. We have just seen the market open, and we've traded our first 15-minute bar, and that's exactly what we're going to need when we build our opening ranges, our opening range. Now, 2-candle orb. I'm a big fan of the 2-candle orb. There are many ways to build an opening range. All right, too many to name. One that comes to mind is the Fisher opening range, and that goes way back to the pit traders back in the 80s and the 90s. We're not going to do that today. We're going to do 2-candle orb. Shane, why do you like 2-candle orb? Because it's easy. Easy's always better. Only a couple rules on this stream. Makes money, it's the right answer. If it's easier, it's always better. And if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. Any time frame. You can use any time frame you want. That's the most common question I get on any of these strategies. Shane, what time frame should I be using this on? I go, you can use it on anything you like. You can do whatever you like. Just remember, the shorter the time frame, the greater the odds are that you're going to get stopped out. That's just the way that it is, because markets typically don't just go in straight lines. They do a lot of this. I call it vibrating. A lot of folks believe markets move in waves. That's okay. A lot of folks smarter than me believe that. I believe they vibrate. And a lot of times you can be absolutely spot on and correct, but if you see that vibration in the market, you get stopped out before the market goes in your favor. So the shorter the time frame, the more chance you have of getting stopped out just because you're playing tighter. And it's ideal for equities and commodities and maybe applied to Forex. We've done a Forex video in the past. It's also on our YouTube channel as well. And this is what it looks like. Very simple. This is what we're going to do. We're going to build our orb, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at our key levels and see where these markets may in fact be going. Let me see Cheryl. All right, let's do it. Okay, well, that's a quick rundown on the orb. Not much really to it other than that. Now, there's a couple other things that I want to talk about before we dive into the charts and build our orbs and actually trade. And they're relatively quickly. So when you're trading an orb, imperative that you understand what can roil the markets, what can shake the markets up. So I highly recommend referencing an economic calendar and saying, okay, here we go. We just already started. Is there anything out there that could really move the market while we're in our trade? Not really. FOMC member Barkin, FOMC member Raphael Bostic speaks. Collins speaks. I just don't see it. I don't see those being market movers. In fact, they pretty much already happened. So I'm not too worried about those. Anything else the rest of the day? Not really. It's a great day to trade the orb. We're going to get what we call clean price action. Now, getting back to one question that I got earlier from Bobby Bob earlier this week, and it was a good one, or last week, it was a good one. Shane, how do I know when Trump's going to talk and when it's going to screw up the markets? Well, right here. Go to the White House, the whitehousegov.live, and typically if there's a speaking engagement and or some sort of news event coming out of the White House, then it's probably going to show up here. So that right there, these are the surprise events that make something like the orb sort of a challenge to trade. Now, one of the beauty, there wasn't very much good about the Biden administration, if you ask me, if you ask most folks. A lot of inflation, a lot of real controversies, but one thing that Biden didn't do is he didn't talk. There was no pressers. There was no breaking news really ever that affected the market. We are seeing it every single day. So if you're serious about trading the orb for legitimate big money, you can definitely check in here and make sure there's nothing that's going to sort of sideswipe you. Now, on the other hand, you can say, well, I'm just going to build my trades and they be what they may. All right, that's fantastic. Nothing wrong with that. As long as you got good, strong risk management, you'll be just fine, even if you do get chopped out by an unfortunate news event here and there. Let me see, Fressy, how do you determine what moves the market? It's more a function of just understanding volatility and the nature of price discovery. Remember, markets are always going to move. Buyers and sellers are always involved, and price is always seeking an area of fair value or equilibrium. Okay? Now, our idea and our concept behind the orb is that early on in the session, we haven't found our area of fair value, and we're going to move towards an area where we think buyers and sellers may get involved. Now, what do we have building up right here? One of the key parts of the videos where we would sort of establish our targets, we would be looking at our overnight highs and lows, especially for the U.S. entry, especially for equities. This is a U.S. 30 15-minute chart, and you can see right here, this is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, essentially, and right there was your overnight high. Now, that was about 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. my time. I'm on Mountain Time, so that right there was going to be your early session high. We traded off of those. We came down. Now, this area right here was our session low. Now, we just took our session low out. So what we have building up right here in the next 7 minutes, we're going to have a 15-minute orb. Now, theoretically, if in fact the market does stall out at its current level, that's going to be our orb, something like that. Shane, do you like that orb? Love it. I hope. Remember, hope's for losers and children. Don't sit around hoping, or if you find yourself hoping, you already lost. We like to make strong moves. Now, in this situation, on this US 30, what do we want to have happen? There's a couple eventualities here. There's one eventuality that I really like. Trend day down. Look at this in here, all from yesterday. That's what we call a thin chain. See this break? I would love to see price bang and maybe check that breakout right in there that occurred right by my picture there. That's your opening week. That would be your opening week range yesterday. It was a great trade. There was your range, bang, bang, a little bit of a pullback, and then you got a trend day up. Okay, well, not really a trend day, but you got to get a nice move up. I would love to fill that in. If we don't get that, that's okay because we've got room to work. Now, to the top side of our orb, and it's not formed yet. That's why we haven't set the trade up yet. But could we be playing a breakout to the top side? Absolutely right. Look, you're going to be breaking above. We already broke above yesterday's high. This could turn into maybe a trend week up. So we're looking very, very closely at this. I think that when we see a market that's in this type of situation, I right now am biased to the downside. We've taken out those overnight lows. We're seeing a bit of compression. Now, right now, the bidders are defending it, and that's why we use the orb. That's why hey, listen, we let them figure it out. We're letting them figure it out with their money. And then we watch price action, and we say, all right, what do we want to do? Okay, we've watched the big guys duke it out for 30 minutes. What do we want to do now with our money? And the answer is to build a trade. Every trade has 3 parts. Every trade has 3 parts. Now remember this, write it down if you're brand new. Every trade, we've got an entry point, we've got a profit target, and a stop loss. Now, our stop loss is going to be relatively simple. I'm going to set that up once the orb actually forms, and our entry point is also going to be straightforward as well. So this little, believe it or not, this little box is the key to our entire day. All right, let's take a look at the E-mini S&P 500. Same basic scenario. You'll notice that I have the overnight highs and lows really locked in here. We've already traded beneath that overnight. That's called a washout. We washed out that overnight low. And the reason why we washed it out is because sellers got involved and wanted to test the waters down there. Now we've got a rebound back up into this range, and we've got a real similar orb setting up. You'll say, Shane, these orbs are all going to look the same on U.S. equities. And I said, believe me, the price action can be vastly different. Pick whichever one you want. U.S. 30, U.S. 500, U.S. 100, whatever you want. U.S. 100 is more volatile. Typically, the U.S. 30 lately has had a mind of its own. And the U.S. 500 gives you probably the best baseline look at true price action for U.S. large caps. It's a broader index. So if you want to play the U.S. stock market in its entirety, S&P 500, U.S. 500. All right, so that's going to be sort of our orb setting up right now. We've got about 3 minutes until it's official. And then right here, our U.S. 100, same basic thing. This would be the one. I'm partial to U.S. 100 or the NASDAQ because it is so much more volatile. So much more volatile. So when we're going to really look to make a trade here, this right here is probably going to be our opening range. 15-minute opening range. Okay? There it is. Which way do you think I want? I want to trade down, and I would love to attack this and really go down and have a look at this week's lows. I think that's a higher probability trade just because we're not necessarily going to be a trend. It's more of a rotation. I love trading rotation. It's the most fun to me. So those 3 things, those 3 markets right there are sort of where we're at. Now, you'll notice that those session lows and session highs have already been taken out. One of the biggest points that I do want to sort of establish here is our key levels are one of 2 things. Okay, they're either the previous day's high or low or your overnight high or low, especially if you're trading U.S. equities. Well, we've already traded above that high. Now we've rotated down. I call that a failed auction. That means that we already washed that high out, couldn't trend higher, and now we're reversing. And if we're reversing right now, what does that mean? It means that I'm partial to the downside, but the orb shows us the way. It shows us the way. Now, you'll notice we're trading the orb without any confirmation whatsoever. None. We're just going to trade these 15-minute ranges the way that they should be traded in sort of isolation. Now, the next thing you're going to ask, Shane, why focus on this time of day and this time frame? 15-minute time frame is very aggressive. That's the first 30 minutes after the U.S. Open. Very, very aggressive trading. I like the 30-minute time frame. I think that's a stronger time frame for me, at least with WTI crude. But you can see the reason why we target this time frame in this specific period of time, the reason why we're on right now, right after the U.S. Open, volume. Volume's everything. If we're going to trade the orb, we want liquidity, we want deep markets, and we want those buyers and sellers in there to be duking it out. I want to just see haymakers from each side, and I want to see who wins. That's what we want. We want this market to move. We want to get in on a breakout, and that means that somebody's got to win. The buyers have to win, and the sellers have to win. So right now, it looks like we're going to get a fairly decent range set up, and we're going to have an opportunity potentially to trade. Now, once we get these ranges complete, I'm going to show you exactly where your stop losses and your profit targets need to be. And then also, we're going to talk about a potential entry, which is going to come our way in the next 15 minutes. Then we're going to go to crude oil for a minute, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Let me see, Universal. Hey, Shane, if possible, any gold analysis? Yeah, I'll cover gold here in just a second once we get everything set up. I think that gold's sort of been dead. Gold and crude oil have both been kind of dead today, yesterday too. Nothing like last week. All right, here we go. Okay, so our opening ranges are final. Now, the real question is how do we enter the market now according to our orb? What we're looking for now is our signal bar. We want our signal bar. What is our signal bar going to be? It's going to be an orb close, or excuse me, a price bar close outside of the orb. So what we're looking for right here is we're looking for this next 15-minute bar to close right there or up here. All right? Easy. If it closes outside of the range, you take the trade. That's simple. You take the trade. So if it closes down in here somewhere, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to sell the market. If it closes up here, above, outside of the range, then we're going to buy the market. Now, the real question becomes, how are you going to execute the trade with regards to risk versus reward? Well, let's go ahead and set this sell up as if it was going to come our way. Stop loss location, you have one of two options. You can go right there. You can stop yourself out right above the 15-minute range. I highly recommend that. I think that gives you your best chance to win, and that means you're going to take a short position with your stop loss firmly above the range. Or you can go right down above the signal bar. So if, in fact, this bar does break down and close outside of the orb, which I think it has a possibility of doing, then we'll have a chance here potentially to take that short. You can put your stop loss right above the signal bar. Personally, I like using the entire range. So what's really happening here? If we do look at the broader market picture, and I highly recommend you guys don't just be mechanical traders, understand, start to see a little bit about what's happening in the market. You'll notice that we're off. I mean, it's blood red over here. Everything is red. Everything is red right now. So like we're talking, let me see, Universal just asked about gold. Gold right there is up about 1%, so you're up a little bit there, but not much. 1% is not much anymore for gold intraday. And then you're looking at U.S. oil. U.S. oil sort of off about 0.75%. Real flat market action. We'll see what happens with equities. Right now, very, very quiet. Love it. Like it. I mean, this is what we want. We want a break. We want to get a break. In a perfect world, we would close just right outside here, and then we would get an opportunity to take our break. So we're going to do that. Let me see. Hey, gold is flying high. Yeah, I mean, it's only 1%, though. It's only 1%. We've been seeing 2% moves in a day. So I'm going to cursor over and look at gold here in a second, and then we're going to set up a U.S. oil orb right now. Let me see. Fressy, how often do you go live? I'm 6 months into trading, and this video is perfect. Well, I mean, I go live pretty much 4 times a week. But Fressy, check out the How to Trade channel, the How to Trade Com YouTube channel. Or if you want to see all of our live streams, go to howtotrade.com, sign up, sign in, and all of them are in the past streams. You can watch them for the last 4 years. Let me see. Tyler, did you cover NQ already? Right here is going to be the US 100. We could certainly expand that into our NQ contract, this is essentially the same thing. This is your NASDAQ 100 contract. One of these is just an absolute lightning in a bottle. You buy or sell one of these, you're in for a ride. That's for sure. So right there, it's this exact same process. Overnight highs. Okay, that was established shortly after the electronic open. And then this right here, this would have been your low. That would have been right there, your overnight low, which would have been established just in front of the London Open. And you can see we washed that out, and now we're trying to decide. I love it. I love this setup. I really do, because what you're trying to do right now is decide which way the market's going to go. But take a look at your key level. It wasn't a clean break. We did a bit of a washout. We washed out that overnight low, which means you got rid of a bunch of retail longs. A lot of folks were holding longs all night saying, okay, I'm going to bet the market goes up on the open. Well, they lost. They got swept out. Now, typically, this is a sign that we're going to rebound. I'm not buying that today. I'm not buying that. I think that this area right in here, this chain right in here, it's called a chain. It's very, very shallow, meaning you didn't get quite the depth at each price point. You just got a big sweep there and a big sweep there. This area right in here is what I really want to target, because even if you fill this in, you didn't really do anything as far as a trend day goes. I mean, we're only off, 0.5%? So even if you traded down here 0.75%, 1%, it's nothing for the NASDAQ. We could go down, we could fill this in, hit down here, and then rotate up. So I want the short. I don't know that it's going to happen for us, though. Let me see. Tyler Feliciano. It has to close on the 15-minute, correct? I keep seeing others saying wait for it to close on the 1 or the 5-minute. Feel free to close on the 1 or 5-minute. You guys can do whatever you want. Personally, I feel irresponsible trading the orb on anything shorter than a 15-minute. And honestly, yesterday we hit a crude oil 30-minute orb that was absolutely fantastic. So let's go ahead and set up that 30-minute orb. And then while we're waiting for this bar to close, I'm going to go ahead and break down some gold. I'll do some gold analysis for Universal, and we'll see what we can do here. All right, right here, U.S. oil. Let's take a good look at what we have now. I don't do 15 minutes on the oil. This is old hat for me. I've been trading oil since 2011, the Arab Spring. And what I find, and well, I don't find it. I mean, it's the truth. You'll notice that volume, this is my little histogram down here. We had a tremendous spike of volume back there right around the London Open. Not necessarily out of the ordinary, probably an announcement out of OPEC or the Middle East or something. But right here, 9 a.m. Eastern. If you're going to trade crude oil or crude oil futures, 9 a.m. Eastern is when the game starts. And you'll see every single day, you'll notice that the volume ticks up. And then you've got, that's what they call A period. Back in the old days, they would say that, okay, that 9 a.m. Eastern, that's A period. And that's when the pits would fire up on the NYMEX for crude oil trading. Believe it or not, it hasn't changed. Well, the pits are long gone, but still those hours remain the same. So I'm always looking at crude oil, 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. my time. Now you'll notice that this 30-minute chart gives us the first hour of trade. Okay, there's your orb. What should I be looking at here? Next thing I want to know is my key levels. I want to know my overnight highs and lows. Right there, what is that? That's yesterday's high. We can go ahead and mark it if you want. That's Monday's high. Right there's your overnight high. How about our lows? Right there, it's going to be yesterday's low, I believe. Yep. Yesterday's low, and then right here is going to be your overnight low. Okay. Now, the reason why we point out these overnight lows, and we understand, I mean, I call it overnight because I'm in the United States. It's my overnight. But you could say, let me see, right here, this would be probably your Asia low. Or, excuse me, that's yesterday's low. This would be your London low, right after 30 minutes after the London Open. So we would be saying that's the London low if you want to be sort of technical about it. But take a good look at this chart. What's happened? We went right there. Boom. Yesterday's low, right there. Something like that. Bang, bang, bang. We've got a problem right in here. We've got bidders stepping up in a big way right around 61.50 and protecting it. I mean, I love this to the downside. I love this orb to the downside. So for the next 30 minutes, what we would be looking at here is we would look to get a break and a close. And if, in fact, we could get this close down here, I would love it. Now, the question becomes, where would you put your stop loss on a trade like that? You have a couple of options. Number one, right there, you could put it right above the range, which would be your A period range. Your A period top. That's a strong, strong stop out point. I know the market's completely reversed if, in fact, crude oil rotates back up. Where do I think this market can go? 61? Could it go lower today? Yeah. This area right down here, though, would be a legitimate target. So from here, would I look to make a play risking, 62 and a quarter as my stop loss? Depends on where my entry finally pans out to be. If, in fact, we break and go, and a lot of times we do, but if we break and go, then you're probably going to get left out of this trade. Like if it closes down here, 61.08 or something like that, then you're probably just looking at a trend day down. Probably don't take that orb. But if it does, in fact, sort of close right in here somewhere, 61.50, you still got about 50 points, risking 75. That would be a situation where you may want to bring it right down to the trigger bar and just look to play that as a trend day down. Something like that. That's for sure. All right, we got many requests here for the gold market. Let me see. Okay, Fressy, one more question, then we'll fire up gold. So the orb shows you the movement within a certain time period. Yeah. So on this U.S. oil, I'm using a 30-minute chart. And the reason why is I want to know that first hour. I want to know that initial hour of trade. That's an old habit with me. That's a bit of secret sauce. Feel free to steal that for yourself. 30-minute chart's everything in intraday WTI crude oil. It's everything. A lot of people don't believe that, but it really is. Just to sort of show you guys one other thing. I don't want to confuse anybody. I know that we get in the tall grass. This trade right here yesterday, was a banger. Okay, here's your orb. 9 a.m. Eastern. Dave, good to see you, Dave. Okay, the next 30-minute bar. 30-minute, we traded inside, and then look at this. There was your entry. Bang. Made about 80 cents to the top side. That was beautiful orb. That's what we want. We want compression. Now, right now, this could turn into a trend day down on us. And if it trends ahead of our entry, we just are SOL. We just can't do it. We can't trade it. So the idea here is to get a real tight open and then get a break towards our key levels. The key levels are more of a guideline. They don't have to be gospel, but we're just looking to get in on a move. And right here, if it stays right in here, I would love it. I would love a close right there. If we get a close right in here, take it. If we get a close down in here, something like a 61 and a quarter, something like that, then we've got to move our stop right there, which is a bit riskier, but you're still playing that trend day down type of thing, and that's very possible right now. The bottom sort of looks to me like it's going to fall out of this market, but we've got to get participation. All right, got a lot of requests on gold. Let's take a look at how our orbs are doing. Look at this. Doesn't look like we're going to get our entry. We've got about 4 minutes left. Yep, we're trading inside. I mean, it's beautiful. It really is. I mean, the longer we load up, the greater chance we have of maybe catching a late day move or a mid-session move. I mean, to me, the longer that we trade at one level, I love it. I mean, that's what really you should. You don't get frustrated by not getting your entry. You sit there and you go, yeah, this is setting up nicely. So that's sort of we've got our ranges built. We've got our targets out there. I mean, we know what we're going to do. This one's interesting to me. I'm going to be back to that on my own time. All right, we want to look at gold. Let me go ahead. I'll give you my own personal views on gold using the Fibonacci counterpunch system, which is one that I sort of have used for a long, long time. That's a really great trade right there. We had some great trades on the Euro FX futures last night. Let's go right to a weekly. The weekly Fibonacci's, when it comes to Forex pairs and Forex futures, FX futures, weekly Fibonacci retracements accept no substitute. That's a very good indicator. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at gold. Let's look at spot gold. You guys pretty much trade spot gold, and that's cool. Had an absolutely fantastic trade last week. Trade idea that we posted in the trading room really outlined the bottom of this market and caught it beautifully. I mean, that's a banger. We pretty much called the bottom. What's the low? What's this month's low? 31.20 and 31.120, and then right there 31.32, and we're already up at 32.78. So that's about $150 gain, which is just a staggering amount of money if you have enough to play it. But let's take a look at our daily. Okay, so clearly we're starting to head back north. Now you go, okay, Shane, how are you going to trade this? I go, well, a couple of ways that you could do it. Clearly this is hindsight, going back to the trade of really the trade of all trades. Guys are already done for the year after that trade. But this right here, this intraday break, we're going to have to figure out a way to address it. Now, we want to be long. I agree. You don't want to dawdle. You don't want to miss out. But by the same token, you have to be disciplined. So I could go down to a 4-hour, and I could say, well, we want to buy 4-hour pullbacks, which clearly we do. The problem is we don't really have one yet. So what can we do right this minute that's going to get us involved in this gold market? I mean, it's broken. No question about it. We finally broke. Buying pullbacks, that's what I would do intraday. I can't remember, honestly, off the top of my head where my top range number was for gold futures. We've been working with a range oscillator of about 80, and this is going to lose everybody, but that's okay. I haven't talked range oscillators at all. So we just have a projected move today, and it was like 8. I don't remember the exact, but it was like 80 something, 84. So the low right here is 32. Today's low is 32.04. So maybe 32.88 will probably be the top of this market. So we're getting toppy. We've got a little bit more to the top side here, but definitely want to look at the long as opposed to the short. Probably consider short side scalping right in front of 90, or 3,300, maybe something like that. That might be a pretty darn good short as well. But definitely a breakout here. Do you want to go down to a 1 minute and get that risky with it? 1 minute's ugly. You don't want that. 5 minute. Yeah, that's a hell of a move right there. Could definitely be looking to do something like this. 32.65, something like that. Let me see. Universal Shane, bro. All right. How much you make money? I know it's personal. Everybody has its own risk management, but I'll still be glad if you tell me any guess. I can tell you this. I'm not going to get into the money. I'm not going to get into the revenue or the cash because I don't do that. Everybody else on YouTube does that. You want to go see the private jets and the cars and stuff. Just go pick someone else's channel. I watched some young lady that was up like 60 grand on a trade and she let it all go back and only made like 4,000. That was like a YouTube series. And I watched her do it and I said, well, that's a lot of money. I don't play that high. I took one of my bigger losing days last Thursday and I lost, I lost almost 2 grand in a day. So that'll give you sort of the idea of the level that I'm playing at. I would say, typically I only keep about middle 4 figures in my account, maybe 5 figures sometimes. I don't let the broker hold much of my money. So I don't know if you can go anywhere with those hints, but I'm not playing. I don't really show up and play for $50 anymore. You can't afford to after this much time. You've got to try to make a living and make a go out of it, or else what's the point? That's the way I look at it. So there's gold. I wouldn't be a seller up here up until about 32.97, and then this pullback down in here, this 32.65. If this swing high holds, that could be very good. That could be very, very good. Let me see. Anything happen to the U.S. dollar at all? Not really. Not really. All right, here's our orbs. Nothing. So you're going to have to wait at least another 15 minutes. And remember, you're waiting for a close outside of these. Now, I'm just going to draw one of these up real quick, and then we're going to call it sort of – I was really, really hoping that we would get a trade here, and we're not going to get a trade. It doesn't look like. U.S. oil is going to break down, it looks like to me. I would almost bet on that. All right, U.S. 30 right here. So if we were going to make a trade to the short side, it'd be something like this. Wherever that bar closes, that's going to be your short entry, somewhere down in here. Know where your session highs and session lows are. It's no accident you're having a fight here. None. That's going to be sort of your entry point. So if, in fact, it does close outside to the bear here in the next 15 minutes, that bar close is going to be your entry. Now, your stop loss, like I said, you have a couple of options. You can either put it above the A-period range, which would be your opening bell ding-ding range. I love that location. That gives you a chance at a true day trade. You know that if the market rejects this down here and then rotates back up, there's big problems. So I love that as a stop out point, but maybe it's too big for you. I mean, let's just say for the sake of argument that you close down here somewhere around 42.6 and you're risking 42.8. All right, so let's just dial this in and keep it real even. So it's nice and easy. Everybody understands. 42.6, something like that. Okay, so if in fact that was going to be your entry point, this up here is going to be your stop loss right above the range itself, somewhere right around, let's just say 42.8. You're going to have to figure out a way to get paid at least a 1-to-1. Okay? At least a 1-to-1. That means that your profit target needs to be down here at least. It's got to be. That's a flat 1-to-1 ratio. People don't like 1-to-1s. Okay. Remember, if you have a 1-to-1, all you have to do is hit 52%. You got to at least hit 52% to cover your commissions and slippage and stuff. But that right there can put you into making money for maybe over the long term. So I say at least 1-to-1. Now, most traders, most books, pretty much every book you read is going to tell you, no, it needs to be 1-to-2, 1-to-3, 1-to-4. But look what has to happen here. If you're going to play that big and your profit target's down there that far, this market really is going to have to fall apart. And it certainly can. It certainly can. So if you want to base your sort of your profit targets on market structure, you could do that. I really have no problem with that. I think you could definitely get away with that in this instance. What really bothers me is when we have a 15-minute trade and I see traders doing this stuff. 41.8. So they're trying to get set up and they're trying to basically play a trend day down. So you're looking to get sort of short from 42.6 and go down to 41.8, which is, all that's fantastic. But what is that? I mean, that's like a 1-to-4. You could do it. I mean, it's possible. It is sort of market structure, I guess. You could do it. Just let me know how that works and what your success rate is. I mean, if it's a 1 to 4, you only have to hit, 25% of the time, something like that. It can work. Personally, I'm right up in here. Doing business right in here somewhere. 1 to 1. Take the money, walk away. So something to think about there. Unfortunately, we didn't get a trade set up today, but that's okay. We'll monitor these ranges, and I'll probably recap these tomorrow, go over those. We're actually starting a new series tomorrow, Switch Markets Live, so you guys in the trading room will get it. And also, if you check out the Switch Markets YouTube channel, you'll get it there. But this is sort of what we're looking at for our orbs. U.S. oil setting up beautifully. I think we may get a late day move there, but nothing right now. And as far as gold goes, you just got to move your Fibonacci's up and keep looking to bid. I would be a bidder until about 32.97 or 95. That's for sure. Okay, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and let me see. I have one question from Cheryl. Cheryl O, does the entire candle have to close outside the orb to take a trade? The candle close, not the entire candle. Great question, Cheryl. The entire candle does not have to be outside of the orb. We're just looking for a candle close. So I'm going to show you a historical example here on the E-mini S&P 500. Opening bell, this would be yesterday's trade. 30-minute chart, okay? Our entry point is going to be right there. Why? You can see we had a wick above there. This candle right here, technically, is still in the orb. Its bottom is still in the orb, but the close is outside. That's confirmation that we're breaking. So we're waiting for confirmation that the breakout's on. That close right there, as long as it's outside of the orb, you're in good shape, and that could be to the bull or to the bear. So you're just waiting for a candle to close outside of our orb. So right here, we're looking for a close beneath the bottom, really beneath today's low, right down in there somewhere, or above the high. And then we're in business. That's all there is to it. Go back down to our 15-minute chart. It's the 15 and the 30 are mirroring each other. That's fantastic. That means that we're loading up. Maybe we break to the bull from here. If we do, then you got a fantastic shot maybe at that overnight high. That'd be great. Yeah, I hope that helps, Cheryl. All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Hope you enjoyed today's workshop. Not really much on the trades. Maybe I mistimed it. Maybe I should have came on I couldn't really today. I got some other engagements today, but maybe next time we do an orb, I'll come on a little bit later so we can run these in real time. But keep an eye on those ranges for today. In your US 30, your S&P 500, and your US 100, you're probably going to get a move in there. It looks to me like you're going to get a move. Remember, the only time you really run into trouble with the orb is when you get into really flat whipsaw markets, and we haven't seen a whole lot of those since Trump got sworn in on the 20th of January. So that's for sure. All right, everybody, I want to thank you for joining me. If you have any questions at all, be sure to reach out. 15-minute orb is a pretty darn good way to trade U.S. equities. Right now is the time to be doing it. Don't try to do it during the overnight. You'll get absolutely destroyed. And then also, if you want to try that oil orb, 30 minutes is definitely a pretty darn good guideline. I don't recommend 15 on crude oil just because you start 30 minutes before that cash open, and life can get really tough on that Wall Street open for pretty much all the markets. As far as gold goes, you got to be a buyer till probably right around 32.97-ish, I would think. All right, M. Con, you're absolutely welcome. Okay, you guys have a fantastic trading day. If you need anything, swing on over to howtotrade.com. Send me a private message, and I will get back to you. And if you're watching us on How to Trade Com YouTube or Forex Signals TV, just like and subscribe, and you'll never miss a live stream when we're on. And they're cataloged there if you want to see any past streams. That's a wrap, guys. Trade well, and we'll talk soon. See ya.